Hi everyone. Today we are going to present about the future of liberal world orders by Canberry. So let's get started.
After the fall of Soviet Union, world affairs are led by unipolar superpower or the US. Liberal norms and practices are the main emphasis in this particular US hegemony, which has dominated international society since the end of the Cold War. When we talk about liberal world order mechanisms, the substantial matters, for example, democratic regimes, multilateralism, international organizations and institutions, cooperation and integration of states, and free market capitalism would definitely be recognized in our living era. Liberalization, in the other word, enhanced cooperation and free interactions among states. According to the text, numbers of scholars express their views toward US-led international order by different means. Nevertheless, same meaning, which is in the upcoming era, US hegemonic order could not live longer and will collapse. Also, G. John Canberry, the authors, has given clarification for liberal world order, and his refer to move to institutions term that derived from David Kennedy is such interesting. These institutions refer to US established apparatuses in their order, for example, IMF or World Trade Organization. Once these institutions became embedded into international society and remained itself mainstream mechanism in world order, states could participate and interact among others easily. However, declining of the US hegemonic power and rises of non-Western states have played vital roles in upcoming future of international affairs. From the text and our perspective, this situation that the US is facing is coherent with realism's core idea. Also to see the disease trap concept. In reality, none of any state could everlastingly remain their hegemonic and privileged status in global affairs. Also, in accordance to realist thinkers, unipolarity power could not forever sustain power balancing stabilization. There are always rising powers to challenge hegemonic authority. In the old days, when the older power has been declining in their powers, newly leading states will come up with a new set of rules, norms, bases, and institutions in their expected world order. However, things didn't work like that, according to international situations and authors' analysis. Crucial aspects in this topic which we interestingly would like to point out is interpretation of the crisis term in this article. For Canberry, his perspective toward the US-led world order is in crisis, which he clarified this crisis terms into two parts. The first one was a crisis of authority. The US has been viewed as the one and only superpower who ranked in the uppermost of all states after the Cold War and decades later. Establishment of liberal world order by the US leads to term liberal internationalism that initiates loosely rule-based and openness of states' interactions for multilateralism agreements. These approaches point out that the world order proposed by the US itself paves the way for a crisis related to authority. Secondly, it was a crisis of success. In the other word, liberal internationalism increases those countries throughout the world in their roles in world affairs, both politically and economically. Success in this case refers to the successful world order that the US has proposed, given those rising states more of authority themselves. For example, the rising of China roles in the IMF and establishment of new economic institutions like BRICS Bank. Softly integration, working around institutions and keeping the old platform from old power would be suited for international context rather than demolishing liberalization tradition. As Miles Kaler termed, conservative globalizers could shape this idea in the way of these non-Western and China would benefit from the openness and loosely rule-based of international system.
Eikenberry argued that at the present time, the power transformation or the power transition is different from the past. In the existing world order, it is seen small continuities, integration, and evolutions, rather than abrupt upheaval, revisionist agenda, and deep struggle over principles, because of two reasons. First, the existing world order is easier to join but harder to overturn. It has been adaptive and expansive over time. It's not just an American world order, because this world order is deeply rooted by many sets of organizing principles and political foundation. Moreover, it accommodates a variety of developmental and political ideologies, such as neoliberal ideologies, social democratic models, and the state-led developmental models. Therefore, all of this will facilitate the integration of a wide range of states, and it also has capacity for shared leaderships, such as G7s, G20s, UNSC, and numberless other leadership groupings. All of these organizations and institutions show that this existing world allow other states, not only the US, to have law of leadership in world affairs. Second, liberal institutionalism is not a Western idea. It came from global appeal. Non-Western states are advantaged by open and loosely rule-based systems as much as Western states. Multilateral rules make every state more equal for operating at the global level. These rules provide protection for rising states as much as they do for declining Western powers. Although there are struggles within and between states in global systems over the merit of specific rules and institutions, these struggles are not fundamentally ones that divide East and West. In Europe and the US, there are both supporters and detractors, as same as in Asia. So liberal institutionalism is not a cultural, civilizational, or hegemonic artifact that is pro-Western. It's just a way of organizing the world. At the end of this article, Eikenberry assumed that the future world orders will look like Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, which is the architecture mixed with various cultures and religions. Likewise, liberal institutions, that is, mixed with various principles and ideologies.